Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here taking a look at Energy Invasion. This is another game from the absolutely lovely people at Sometimes You, who sometimes fuck up and sometimes do okay. That isn't very many sometimes though. This time is honestly not going to be that much different, but whatever. There's really not that much to see out in the menu here. There's nothing in the way of options. And the how to play screen is annoyingly slow. Like, look at this. Use the left stick to move the paddle. Use the right stick to launch the energy sphere. Like, seriously, you could display this all on one bloody screen. This literally tells you... This will just tell you how to play the game, so I don't even have to say anything. Because, hurrah, right? Yep, now I just press circle and back we go. Right, so the game's got 3 modes, and the most interesting of the 3 is the invasion mode, so we're mostly going to be playing that in this video. But linear mode and endless mode are pretty easy to explain once I show you how this works. Loading times are also actually kind of unbelievable for how simple the game is, I have to say. So anyway, here we are. This is Energy Invasion, and there isn't really that much invading going on. It's basically a Breakout clone. There is, of course, one major thing going on with it, and that is that your ball doesn't actually destroy anything directly, but you can use the right stick to fire off missiles, which can take out the blocks. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's really not that much else to it on top of that. It's a very simple concept. One that I wasn't particularly against. Like, I don't mind a game of Breakout, especially a good one. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't mind a game if it's good. That's a hot fucking take right there. But Energy Invasion is slightly different, and it's going to take a few levels for us to be able to actually get to the reasons why it's kind of annoying. So, let's just talk about some other things, like the game's performance is absolutely terrible at times. Like, the whole game just freezes for half a second when you successfully complete a level, and that loading time for something so simple where 80% of the assets should have already loaded is retarded. It is retarded, and fuck you! Fuck you with a gigantic object of some kind. What the fuck was that? Okay. Right, that's one of my multiple problems with this title. Let's talk about the first problem, the actual Breakout stuff. Not really that entertaining. The physics that they've got going on here aren't particularly fluid. And most of the time when the ball comes back down to your bat, you don't really feel like you have that much control over it. It will bounce back and forth pretty generically, and you don't really have that much control over the ball. I'm reminded of a game like Break Quest Extra Evolution, which funnily enough, I don't think I've actually put my video up on that game yet. Yeah, I'm basically reminded of that, because it's physics which allowed you to arc your ball upwards and downwards, was what made that game interesting, because the game's physics were actually really good. So it made it feel satisfying to weave a ball around some annoying obstacles and, you know, hit that last target. In this game, it's not very satisfying at all, because it feels like you don't have that sort of fine-tooth control, which is kind of annoying. This isn't really helped out by the fact that your paddle is actually not a rectangle. It's this weird triangle shape. And if your ball lands on the edges, it seems to be a random chance whether or not it'll actually go back up again. You can just tap the edge of it with, like, the upwards angle, or the downwards angle, whichever way you want to think of it. And the ball just seemingly has a random chance of either falling into being unrescuable, or it just flies off into the sky. It's amazingly frustrating to deal with, because the amount of balls I've lost in this game because of that, like, you see that? You see that bullshit right there? That is, like, the biggest level of BS going on right there. Just because the game's like, oh, you hit it on the lower part of the angle, fuck you, you've lost the ball anyway. It is legitimately frustrating. So now you've seen what makes the invasion mode interesting, and that's the enemies. You might have seen the little red shots they were throwing out, because they are actually kind of hard to see if you're not paying really close attention. Like, for something that if it runs into your bat, it can kill you, it's surprising just how faded into the background the red shots are. So, you can barely see it happening sometimes. And it means that you just have a lot of trouble dealing with this shit. And the annoying thing is, your ball can actually bounce off the red stuff. So you might not actually see a red ball coming in to bounce off your ball until it's too late. And then it'll bounce off, go in a completely different direction, go below the playfield, and you've lost a life. So it is surprisingly annoying to deal with. And yeah, that's pretty much what I was about to say about everything about this game. But yeah, it absolutely sucks having to deal with this shit, because the amount of red balls they can send flying around just out of fucking nowhere is ridiculous. And the way the aiming works on these red balls is they will go straight for your paddle where it is sitting right there and then. This can lead to a problem, because if you end up in a bad situation where your ball is going towards like the other end of the field and you need to rush for it, and then by the time you get there the red ball fires off and you end up needing to dodge out of the way but lose your ball because of that at the same time, well, you're fucked. There's no other way about it. You can literally walk into an unwinnable situation because of the way these things aim at you. And it is the most frustrating thing imaginable, because it means you have to think so far ahead that it makes the game no fun to play, because you just end up missing the ball because you end up overcompensating for this fucking missile launcher that just won't leave you alone. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hit the goddamn fucking thing. And did you see that? Fuck that red ball thing. Fuck that thing, and Christ almighty. Right, might as well talk about the controls as well. The left stick is what moves your fucking ball, and it is so goddamn slippery sometimes, it's unbelievable. And not to mention, you can't move using the D-pad, despite the fact you don't actually use the D-pad for anything in this game. So, you can't be as precise as you would like with the bat, and it just makes things just incredibly frustrating. Like, why the fuck can I not use the D-pad? It seems like such an obvious thing. In a game where precision is king, you can't use your fucking D-pad? Kill me now. Not to mention, aiming is actually a massive pain in the ass. As far as I can tell, aiming is only locked to the basic 8 directions on the analog stick, right? So, it kind of turns out that you just end up not aiming in the place that you mean to aim, and not being able to see where I'm aiming. Like, I can swear I'm pointing up and right now, but it seems like that if I just move like one little bit to the left or whatever, it'll fuck up, and I'll be aiming in a completely different direction. You can bounce your balls, your projectiles I should say, that you fire off. You can bounce them using your bat. So if you need to just like fire them straight down while your bat's coming at you to get a good hit in, well, that'll work. But still, it's incredibly annoying because it just doesn't feel accurate or precise at all. Which means that you often end up going for the old trick of just aiming your missiles at the corner and hoping they bounce back down towards where you actually want to aim. Frustrating! And of course, here come the black holes, which mean that you can't actually fire your missiles through them, which means you just kind of need to get like this and hope you can fire off enough shots to make it so that you don't end up screwed. But of course, you've got this thing firing at you the entire goddamn time, and it's just the most frustrating thing imaginable. The game has power-ups too, did you notice? Well, I sure didn't for my first couple of levels. For some reason, the game just feels the need to give you a completely random power-up every time that you hit a certain amount of blocks. How many do you have to hit? I have no fucking idea. What are the power-ups given to you? I have no idea. It seems entirely random. What power-ups are there in general? Well, there is a machine gun missile thing that only lasts for a few seconds. There is a longer bat which only lasts for a few seconds. And there's the line that goes across the screen that lasts for a few seconds that keeps you above the ground. But of course, if you are for some reason below that line, when you set that power up off completely at random with no warning whatsoever, you are screwed because you'll just end up hitting your own ball back below the thing and lose a life. You can also earn extra lives at random, which is really weird because you just end up getting more lives literally out of nowhere. I don't think there's even any like noise cues or whatever for it. It just happens. And then you've got the whole thing with the power-ups only lasting for a few seconds, and again, they go away with no warning or cue whatsoever. So if you end up in a situation where you're relying on the line to keep you safe from enemy projectiles, that line can go away at any time and you won't have any warning. You basically need to act as if it's not there anyway. So you just end up in this really annoying situation where you get a power up and you're like, oh, that's a thing. It's not like, oh, I got something that can legitimately help me. It's not like that at all. So the game does tell you how far in you got on the main menu with all the different, well, with the 2 different modes, I should say, not all the different modes. But the game does tell you how far you got in. However, it doesn't actually let you save your game. You need to play the entire thing in one shot. Thankfully, you can continue at a penalty, they say. But you can continue pretty much as you like. But if you don't want to play through the 25 levels in either mode in a row, I'm surprised I saw that. If you don't want to play through all 25 levels in one mode in a row, you just have to shut up and deal with it, more or less. Same thing with the classic mode. The classic, well, it's not the classic mode, it's the second mode, the mode that I didn't pick at the beginning of this video, but the other mode is literally just blocks, as far as I can tell. I got halfway through that mode, and all they were giving me was extra blocks. So it seems that the only real difference between these 2 modes is the only real difference between these 2 modes is the fact that there are enemies trying to actually, like, kill you. And, well, at the same time, I'm grateful for it, because I hate having to deal with these enemies at the same time I'm trying to deal with all these fucking balls and this goddamn, whatever the hell this player ball thing I'm beating around is. But at the same time, it makes the game even more boring, because it's just breakout, but you can only break the boxes with the missiles that you fire off. And you can't aim the missiles properly, so it's literally just waiting for it to get into a... Fuck off! It's just waiting for it to get into a proper position so that you can fire off the missiles at the right place. And it's the dumbest fucking thing. Well, might as well talk about the rest of it then, because I'm probably not going to be able to... Yep, there we go. I had a feeling that was going to happen. I'll do one more continue. Chances are I'm not going to make it much further. I actually made it to level 12 the first time. There's a couple of other minor things, like for some reason it'll always say Restart Invasion, which is the main mode, in this menu, even if you're playing the Endless or the other mode. It just says Restart Invasion for some reason. The overall performance, as I said, is quite terrible. However, the graphics are extremely lightweight. Like, arguably the most complex thing going on is the ball graphic. And it's really just kind of ugly. Like, I don't mind the whole visualization going on in the background there. That's pretty good. The rest of it is kind of shit. Not to mention that the red graphics are so hidden in the background that it's really hard to tell them apart. And I absolutely hate the music. It sounds like a glitchy, unfinished mess. When I was playing, it made me think something was wrong with my Vita, because the music would just repeat the same sounds over and over again out of nowhere for 5 to 10 seconds. And the actual music isn't particularly good at all. It just sounds like complete random nothingness. Oh yeah, there's that power up. You wonder what that fucking does? I don't even know what killed me there. I didn't even see it. It's terrible. It is legitimately one of the worst games I've played this year. Thank fuck it's only January. It's shit. It's really shit. Like, there is a free game that I've already mentioned once in this video, and that's Break Quest Extra Evolution. It's on the PlayStation Store. It's 100% free, and it's Breakout, but it is miles ahead of this piece of shit. Like, the difference between the two could not be more pronounced. Break Quest is actually good. And I would wholeheartedly recommend you go play that and buy, like, the... I would fully recommend you go get that, because it's free, actually. And I managed to finish the game without buying any balls, but I ended up buying balls anyway, just because I liked the developers. But yeah, that game is so much better than this one. Oh, and, Endless Mode. I don't even know why they call this mode Linear Mode, because it's not really linear, it's more classic. And then you've got the Endless Mode, which is, I'm pretty sure it's just procedurally generated levels. I only played like 3 of them, but that's what it felt like, mainly because I got the same level twice. But yeah, Break Quest is miles and miles ahead of this. And this costs, well actually I don't know how much this costs. You'll know by the time this video comes out, because it'll be out on the store by then. But yeah, whatever they're asking you to pay for it, don't do it. It is not worth the time. This has been Blue Maxima. I will see you all next time.